Hi everybody, this is Miss Murphy, and this video is just to guide you along as we get into our hand lettering unit. So our first practice assignment, your first practice assignment is to practice finding different fonts and also practice your name using 3 different font styles. So you can do this on sketchbook size paper, 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12. And by the way, you can go in any direction. I just chose to turn my paper vertically so that I would have, and it also depends on the length of your name too. So you can use your first name, obviously, and you don't have to use your entire name. But the goal of this assignment is just to get warmed up and also find some fonts that you like using before we create our personal mantra design. So think about the first thing that I do, because I do actually a lot of hand lettering in some of my wood burn designs that I do. So one of the things that I often do is create guidelines. So the first thing I would say for you is to divide your paper into 3 sections and also find the middle of your paper and draw a line down the center of your paper depending on the size. And that's also going to help you divide your name in half properly and figure out where things go. So I have a very light line in the middle because that one I'm definitely going to erase. So I already started with a font that I practiced on the top. I'm still going to go back into that and go over it with a Sharpie. You don't have to do that for this, but you can if you just want to experiment a little bit. So one of the things you have to do when you are lettering as well is make sure that you're getting everything leveled out, as I did on this part of my name here. And what I'm going to do down here is also draw a guideline, and this is also based on what lettering style that you're looking at. So I'm going to just make that line go right about here. And I'm drawing it lightly because, again, I want to erase it. The other part is that, well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters in my name. So I want to make sure that the middle letter, which would be the third one, stays in the middle line. So that's going to help me along as I'm drawing. I'm just going to make this a little darker so you can see. So I found another font that I'm going to use, and you want to make sure that you're experimenting with different fonts, not all the same. And I know that the N for this one is going to go, and you could even start out by sketching the middle letter just kind of lightly if you wanted to. Just kind of know that this is where the middle letter is going to go. So I am going to just kind of sketch this in very lightly because I want to leave some room, and I know this is the middle, but this just also is helpful to do because eventually when you have more words, you have to figure out how to center things on your paper. And so you want to make sure that you do that. So I'm going to draw in my N, and remember that I'm going lightly here, and I can always go back in. I have my eraser on hand, by the way, my lovely eraser. So I'm going to go in and make sure that I kind of fix that up. Don't mind my little mark there. So I'm sketching that in lightly because we want to start out light until we get it right. And I'm going to just, and then if I need to make any adjustments. All right, so I have my letter in the middle, my N, and now I know that I'm going to actually have my other, the I in my name is going to go somewhere. I'm not going to fully draw it. I'm just going to draw a little light sketch here. And then I'm going to figure out, okay, so the first letter is the L. So I'm going to start sketching that in over here. And the other part of this is also the height. So sometimes like you might have letters that are a little bit off, or you might have some that are similar heights. In this one, I also noticed that the L is going to be as high as the D. So sometimes I draw a little mark on the top there. So I know that that's as high as I'm going to go down when I actually complete my lettering. So I'm going to make sure that I don't go past that line. And so now I'm going to draw in my L here and take my time. And this kind of loops around. This is a little more, and actually I want to say that I wanted to actually make sure this goes over slightly a little bit more. So I'm going to add this over here. And sometimes if you're making like double, or I guess if it is a wider letter is what I meant to say, sometimes I start it with just a single line like so, and then I will add the extra width to it afterwards, which is a little more helpful, because then I just go from thick to thin, and it's kind of like I'm adding the structure of the letter first. So as you can see, and I might be just making this a little darker just because I'm demonstrating for you. Now I'm gonna make it, gonna add the rest of my L here, just like so, loop it around. And then I know that since my L goes, there I have this line drawn for me here. And then that's going to fall on here and then lead into my I over here. Sorry that my table's shaking. And you can really refine as you go, or go afterwards and just really refine the letters after you sketch them in. And it's okay if they don't look pretty, solid in the beginning. They can be sketched in the beginning. So I have this part of my letter, and as you saw, I actually made it thicker as I went. And then I, of course, erase any unnecessary lines that I don't need, because actually in the font example, this is connected. So there's no separation here. I'm going to go in later and kind of refine that as well. And then I'm going to draw my I in, which is connected to the N that I drew previously. This has a little slant to it, and I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna draw my little O here, or the dot is what I meant to say. And I draw the dot. And as I'm going, you can see that I am refining some of my edges, so you can see my lettering a little better. And as I go, making sure that I'm following the guideline here, because I have this line down here to help me. And then I have a very elaborate D here, but I know that it's going to stop at this point, which is another reason why to add that guideline there. So I'm going to add the letter D. And again, what I say is just kind of, if you can't draw the double lines, then just draw the structure of the letter first, like the outline of it. And then this is what I do. So again, I'm using this guideline here. So now I can actually double it up. So I'm going to make my lettering wider now. And that actually made it a little bit faster. So I'm going to now add the inside of my letter D here. And I want to fix this side just a little bit, just a little bit. So I'm going to make this a little wider down here, and then the last letter I have, and I'm going to actually fix this here so you can see that, and the last letter I have is the A, and again, this guideline is really helping me here. If I did not have that drawn, I would be making this, I would have not have leveled this out here. So it's really important to have those guidelines. Even the other part of this is sometimes letters across like this, you can use your ruler or a straight edge of paper just to make sure those are all lining up. And again, you usually want to erase those out so you can't see it afterwards. And so a couple things that I've kind of talked about is drawing the guidelines, finding a letter style that you want to, experiment with. And since I drew this line here, and drawing the guidelines, and also drawing lightly before you finalize your lettering. So I'm just taking my time. Now, I've been doing lettering for a long time, so I know it takes a lot of time to just kind of focus and concentrate on getting the style right, but sometimes drawing out individual letters, depending on the style, takes a little bit longer. But you just have to have a little patience with the process here. And just, when you're done, then you can go back in, erase any unnecessary lines. Sometimes what I do is I check the levels, I check the height, the width. I make sure that these levels line up as far as the height of certain lettering. The higher letter is lining up and the lower letter is lining up as well. And then I just take my eraser and erase out any unnecessary lines that I already used. And like I said, it's up to you if you want to go over this with Sharpie, which I'm going to do. And I just wanted to show you how to get it started and just give you a few pointers. So good luck with your hand lettering practice. Find some fonts that you really like to use and have some fun with experimenting.